You know, 1967 was the very first year for the GTX, and we've talked about it before that it was one of the very first muscle cars that was also a luxury edition. It's amazing to me that a company like Chrysler would come out with an introductory year like 1967 and not just be walking on eggshells to say, hey, how's the market going to like our 67 GTX? It's all new. They said, fool you, I don't care if you like it or not. We're going to put a 426 Hemi in it, and we're going to make it convertible. And if you don't like that, we're going to put a 4-speed in one too.
So Mark wants me out here working on the 67 GTX Hemi convertible car for Bret Terino. I gotta say, downright, this is probably one of my favorite cars. Not only because it's a Hemi car, but because they've only made 17 of them. Never want to do this with a dry rag. Make sure it's damp. Or she'll scratch the car. Along with all the other 30,000 things that we have to do here, getting this thing disassembled is definitely a priority that needs to be taken care of, but I don't see it happening. You know, Mark's not out here helping out like he should be. I understand his place is in the office now, keeping the chair warm. Bret is one lucky man. That's all I've got to say. God, I love this car. I'm gonna get the hoist going, lift it up in the air, and haven't heard anything else after that, so I guess I'm kind of gonna wait for what Mark has in store. Going up. I'm out of here.
You know, this GTX, it represents everything that was great about Detroit. You know, it's a Hemi, it's a 4-speed car, it's a big car, and I just love it. I mean, it's just, you know, there's certain things that you love. This car I love. I love everything about it. I love the way it rides, the looks, and it's just a gorgeous car.
Trying to ask Bret what his favorite car is a lot like asking what your favorite child is, no different than how I am. And there's just always been something about this car, no different than how it starts, how it runs, how it drives, but there's always been something that has stood out. And for it to sit amongst all these beautifully restored cars, whereas this is basically pretty much original with the exception of a minor paint job sometime in the 80s, it needed to be done.
So I'm driving it up to my ranch, going back close to 2 years ago now. And all of a sudden I see the hood ornament wobble, bounces off the hood, hits the windshield. I got the top down, I throw my arm up, I grab the ornament, I caught it in midair, and at that point I knew it was time to get some work done on the car.
In the conversation with Mark, I was quite blunt with him. I said, the car runs and drives great. Even compared to modern fuel injection, this car is turnkey. You get in and it will start for you every time. The one thing that you are not to touch, Mark, because there are a lot of holes in the desert in Las Vegas where we're from. You don't touch the exhaust.
Aaron loves the sound of the GTX. It does have a different exhaust system on it than it came with from the factory, and he wants to make sure that that car, even though the rest of it is 100% OEM correct, he wants it to sound the same.
The car sounds amazing. I want to keep the sound. If you touch the sound, you might have an accident at work.
Thank you so very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you as
my
always.
God, good to see you, man.
Now that the guys are pretty much done and heading back home, it's time for us to knuckle down, get the GTX up in the air, get it disassembled, get it inventoried, get the body ready to go off to the dip company.
I trust, at least I hope, that the car will come back to us in